Hey, I'm Coach Rob Papile. This is Rob's Fight Club, and welcome to our Intro to Boxing video. Today we're going to go over all of our basics to get you heading in the right direction with your boxing journey. You're going to learn how to throw your basic punches, how to stand, how to move, everything that you need to build a good foundation for boxing. Whether you're looking to learn to burn calories, have some fun, or to be a competitive boxer, everybody starts the same way. We're going to dive right into the basics here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to answer your questions. The best way to learn boxing is to come into the gym and learn face to face, but hey, this will get you started in the meantime. For those of you that watch this video, I hope that you'll come in and do our live Intro to Boxing class and also get involved with our normal boxing program. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is figure out if you're a right-handed boxer or a lefty boxer, also known as a southpaw boxer. So the way we like to figure this out is if you would throw a football with your right hand, then you're probably a right-handed boxer. If you would throw a football with your left hand, then you're probably a left-handed boxer, or what's known as a southpaw. By having your power hand in the back, you're going to be able to get more power when you throw that punch, and so you're not using your weak hand as your power punching hand. You're going to take your weaker hand and we're going to develop that. We're going to make it faster and stronger, and that's going to be the hand that's going to be out in front of you, gauging your distance and setting up that backhand, which is your power hand. Okay, so once you've decided which stance you're going to be in, the right-handed conventional stance or the southpaw stance, we can go ahead and get started working on some footwork. So before we even get into our punches, we have to know which way to move so we're not getting our feet tangled up. So if I get in my stance, you'll see that I have a line that would go right between the toes of my front foot and the heel of my back foot. That gives me some stability from side to side in my stance and also allows me to turn my hip to generate some power in my power punch. So once I get in my stance, I'm going to double check everything and make sure I have a good stance where I'm not going to be leaving any openings right off the bat, because I want to make sure that I'm not making mistakes because my opponent hasn't even forced me to make mistakes yet. So I don't want to make the mistakes myself just by taking my stance the wrong way or holding my hands the wrong way. So I check my feet, I make sure I have that toe-heel alignment. I'm going to bring my arms up, hands in front of my face, elbows in at my ribs. Now my backhand should be somewhere near my chin, between my chin and my cheek area here. And the way that I want to keep from having to raise my arms up, which would leave my body open, is by bringing my chin down. That's going to give me some protection here to the face, keeping my head down in between my gloves. So I have the front arm kind of out in front of me. I'm looking inside of that left hand. If you're southpaw, it would just be the opposite. And my backhand staying somewhere near my cheek, my elbows in, they kind of sit here. My arms sit right on my ribs. I have a slight bend in my knees, and we call that an athletic position. Now I'm able to move around on my toes because I'm kind of always pushing off the base of the big toes, moving forward and back. So if I get a little rhythm going here, I'm just kind of going front foot, back foot. You can still see I'm maintaining that toe-heel alignment. So that line goes between my feet. My chin stays down. My left shoulder's turned in a little, so I'm not a big wide target. If you look from the side, you're going to see that my front arm is actually out in front of my elbow slightly, because really it's a 90-degree angle, but I'm lowering the elbow down So now my hand is closer to my target, and I have that there to protect me when punches are coming towards me. When I'm moving to the side, I'm going to move in a left foot, right foot, or right foot, left foot manner. So I don't want to cross my feet. So when I'm moving to my left, I'm going to push off my right foot and step my left foot. When I'm moving to my right, I'm going to push off my left foot and step my right foot. Now I'm not keeping the hands up here. I want you just to concentrate on the footwork for now so we don't have to worry about everything all together. So if I do it the opposite direction, you can see it a little bit better. As I'm moving to my left, I'm pushing off the right foot. As I'm moving to my right, I'm pushing off the left foot. If I'm going forward, I push off the back foot, step my front foot. And when I'm going backwards, I push off the front foot and step my back foot. All right, so everything is moving together. We're working together, and we're not crossing our feet. So the feet are working together, and we're never doing anything like that. So once I step like this, I'll be off balance. I can get hit here. I'm not gonna have good stability in my stance, and I can't throw my back hand. Now that we know how to stand and how to move, we can start diving into some of our basic punches. There are 4 basic punches in boxing. 1 is your jab, 2 is your cross, 3 is your hook, and 4 is your uppercut. Now the jab is the first punch that you'll typically learn when you start boxing.
That's it! 1, 2! Work the right hand! That's it!
The jab is your front hand, and it's always your front hand. So if you're a southpaw, it's going to be your right hand, and if you're a righty, it's going to be your left hand. The jab is how I can get my range, establish distance, and set up my cross. If I try to walk in and just throw a backhand, I'm going to find it to be very difficult because I haven't established that range yet with my opponent. And so I'm walking into his jab range, trying to throw my backhand, which is coming from a farther distance away. So most likely, I'm walking right into his punches on the way in. So I want to get in my stance. Now, here's a little adjustment you can make to your stance with your shoulders. You can bring that right shoulder back just slightly, which will move your head back a little farther from your opponent's punches. A little more weight on my back foot. My right hand stays where it is. I'm still looking inside that front hand, but my head's back just a little bit more. Now when I throw that jab out there, I'm going to turn the palm down. I'm going to take my front shoulder and turn it to the right slightly, so turn it in. And I'm keeping my chin down so my shoulder goes into my cheek and my chin area right in here. Now, if I need a little distance, I'm going to put a step with it. So I'm going to push off my back foot just like we did when we were moving, and I'm going to land on my front foot while turning that jab upside down. The backhand for now will just stay by your cheek. So what we don't want to do is throw the jab and drop the hand. We don't want to throw the jab and pull the hand back, so no shooting the bow and arrow there. We keep it right here as we throw it out. To get a little more power, I want to snap my arm, and I want to make sure that my arms aren't too tight and too tense. So from my stance, my arms are loose and relaxed. I can tighten my hand, keep my arm loose, and snap that punch out, bringing it right back to my face. Now you don't want to throw your punch out and drop it down. That's a really bad habit. So what you're going to do is you're going to throw your punch out there and bring the elbow back underneath, keeping the hand over the top. So it twists out, it twists back with a little step, and right back. Chin stays down, right hand on the cheek. There are many other ways of throwing a jab, a lot of different variations, but for today, we're going to focus on going right to the next punch, which is the cross. So we're going to keep it basic. Now the cross is always your backhand. So our backhand should be at our cheek here, near our chin. And when we throw that punch out, we want to use our core, use our legs. So we're going to turn, we're going to rotate our hips forward, bring our back shoulder forward, rotate that hand down. So we're going to corkscrew it out, and when we finish, our chin will be down, tucked behind that shoulder. Our backhand stays here by our face. All right, so everything rotates, everything comes back. So when you're doing this punch, I don't want you to think of it like it's a lean forward. I want you to think of it like it's a rotation from right to left. If you're southpaw, it's just going to be opposite, okay? And you'll hear me say that a lot, but everything is just backwards really as far as the basics go for a left-handed fighter, okay? So rotate, bring it out, and bring it back. Now the knuckles you want to aim with are these big knuckles here, okay? So your wrist should be flat. You don't want it up and you don't want it down too far. You want it nice and flat, just like that. Aiming with the front of the glove. Now I'm going to back up just a little so you can see my feet. So when I'm throwing this out, the way I'm going to get that rotation is by twisting that heel up on the back foot. So I'm going to drive into the floor as I turn. My heel's going to come up, and my hips and my shoulders are going to rotate together. My weight ends up shifting over my front leg, so I'm stacked over this left knee. You don't want to have your head go out over your front foot, so don't let your nose go past your toes, which might look something like this, okay? We're just going to be right here, nice and balanced. So now that we know how to throw the jab and the cross, now we're going to put them together. So to throw a 1-2 combination, jab number 1, cross number 2, all we have to do is put the 2 punches together. To keep it simple, if I don't step on my jab and I just throw that cross or that jab out there, then my cross will follow that jab. My jab goes out, my right hand's on my cheek, my right hand goes out, my left hand comes back to my cheek. To do it a little faster, snap out the jab, rotate into your cross. There's a little issue when we try to move forward throwing these punches, so it gets a little more challenging once we step on our jab. But basically, when you step on your jab, you've created more space between your feet. And so when you throw your cross, instead of just pivoting here, where I'm gonna feel a little bit too stretched out, too off balance, I'm gonna actually bring that foot up and stay a little more balanced with my feet more underneath my shoulders. So if I've stepped my front foot a half a foot forward, well then I'm gonna bring my back foot the same distance that I stepped with my front foot. And so when I step on my jab, I step on my cross. Now that's going to take a little practice, and so you might want to work on just doing this moving forward. All right, now don't do this. This is what a lot of people will do. They'll step here, and then they'll step way too far with their back foot. So you don't want to do that. You just want to step the same distance with your back foot that you stepped with your front foot, but you're going to pivot at the same time. So when you're done with your pivot, your heel will be up, you'll be back balanced over that left foot, but you won't have all this space between your feet. Our third punch is the hook. And we call it the hook, but it's your front hook, your lead hook. And that's the punch you're going to use the most, more than your rear hook, which you're going to use when you're closer, more inside. The lead hook can sometimes be thrown a little bit from a farther distance. It's a bit of a safer punch to throw when you're out a little bit further away. So don't try to throw a back hook from far away. That's why you have your cross, okay? So when we throw the hook and we're working on throwing it with good form, what we want to do is bring the arm up, and the elbow and the hand are all going to be on the same plane, so parallel to the floor. I'm going to start it out off of my shoulder slightly, so it's at least just out to the outside of my center line, which is here, right? So I got to bring it out here. So I'm going to come out, and then I'm going to hook it across. Now, as I bring my arm across, I'm going to let my weight shift and let my shoulders turn so that my shoulder is going to come to my cheek. And that's about as far as you want to go, about as far as you might throw an elbow strike, just like that, but your hand leads in front of that punch. So don't throw it out here because you missed your target. Make sure you throw it out a little first and then bring it around. The backhand stays by your face. Our weight shifts from side to side. Now, where many people mess up when it comes to throwing the hook is they don't figure out their weight shift quite right. So when you're throwing your hook, as I bring that arm across, I want to make sure my weight is going to my back leg. And you can think of it more like you're moving from left to right, even more than you're moving backwards. But your weight is shifting over to that right side because my punch is going that direction. So if I throw it from this way, I'm going to throw my hook out here, my weight's going to shift over my right foot. And if I was throwing the rear hook, I would be just doing it opposite. So my weight is going from side to side, not so much forward and back. And so now we know how to throw the cross and the hook, so let's put them together. I'm going to throw my cross out here, shifting my weight over my left leg, and then I'm going to bring my cross hand straight back to my face while I come around and throw that left hook. So again, I'm going to throw the cross out. I'm going to come around and throw the left hook. From the side, I'm going to rotate. Heel comes up on that back foot. Shift my weight back to the right side. Notice my right hand's back at my face. Chin stays down, shoulder comes into your chin. And facing away, we're going to throw the cross, get a good rotation, weight's over my left foot, shift my weight back to the right side. And right here I'm balanced. I'm not going to fall over. My weight is perfectly balanced over my feet. If I put all three together, I have my jab, my cross, and my hook. My jab, my cross, and my hook. And if you hear me breathing, it's important to exhale while you punch. It's going to get you more power on your punch. You basically punch to a breathing rhythm, so it's important to breathe out. And if you don't breathe, you're going to find yourself passed out on the floor. All right, so got to make sure you're breathing out. By breathing out, it's going to force you to breathe back in between your combinations. So let's review. We know how to move. We can move around without crossing our feet. We know how to throw our punch out in front of us, keeping our head back so we don't run into our opponent's punches. We know how to put our jab and our cross together. We know how to throw our cross to our hook. And then our 1, 2, 3 combination, making sure we're getting our hands back to our face, not dropping them down, staying protected all the time, and throwing a nice good combination that hopefully won't be blocked. Let's talk about shadow boxing. Shadow boxing is something that you can do at home to practice all of this stuff that you're learning. By putting together your punches and practicing your footwork, you're going to get more comfortable at doing it all in the right manner, hopefully, if you're doing it right without bad habits. But it's going to make it easier for you to learn because nobody's throwing punches at you yet. You don't want to start by just going to the heavy bags and hitting the heavy bags hard, because you might be making bad habits that you don't realize you're making. So by shadow boxing, especially in a mirror, you'll be able to see if you're dropping your hands or creating bad habits. You can make those adjustments and stop those bad habits from forming, because if you do something over and over again the wrong way, it's a very hard habit to break. Okay, so if I'm shadow boxing, I'm gonna get in my stance. I wanna move around light on my toes, get used to that front foot, back foot way of moving around. Start with some footwork, practice not crossing my feet, make sure my hands are up, and my shoulders and my arms are nice and relaxed. Chin's down, I'm watching through my eyes. I'm actually looking through my eyebrows a little because my chin is down. And then I'm gonna start throwing some jabs out there, right? Some 1-2s. And just get comfortable. You can just do jabs for a little while. Just practice throwing some jabs out, practice moving around. Practice keeping the back hand up. 1-2. 1-2-1. 1-2-3. 2-3-2. 3-2-3. All right, so just getting comfortable, moving around, staying loose, keeping the hands up, maintaining good form, maintaining good footwork. And if you do this for 2 or 3 minutes at a time, you're gonna find that your heart rate is gonna go up pretty high, especially if you're brand new at your boxing. All right, let's take a look at some common mistakes. Mistake number 1 is generally standing too wide in your boxing stance. You don't want to leave a big target here. You want to make sure you kind of hide that back foot behind you, maintain that toe heel alignment. Mistake number 2 would be keeping your chin up in the air. So make sure that you're not doing your boxing with your head up in the air, where you're going to be a big target there if a guy throws a hook or any punch at you. You want that chin down between your gloves. It's gonna feel a little uncomfortable to keep it down there, but if it feels uncomfortable, then you know you're probably doing it right. Now you don't wanna put your head down, but you do wanna keep your chin down while you look through those eyebrows. Another mistake is dropping your backhand when throwing your front hand. So when this hand goes out, this other hand should stay here by my chin. If I'm dropping that hand or I'm pulling it back, I'm going to be leaving myself open to get counterpunched. Another mistake is trying to throw all your punches too hard. So try to make sure those arms are loose and relaxed, you're snapping your punches out, and you're not tight and forcing all your punches out. You're just going to get yourself tired. Your punches are going to be slower. Another mistake that you might be making and not even realize is throwing your punches out and then dropping them down on the way back. So your punches should go out and come back pretty much the same way. So my jab goes out, it twists back, it comes back into my starting position. Cross comes out and comes back. The hook goes across and then drops back in to that starting position. Another mistake that you might be making is getting on the heavy bags before you're warmed up. So make sure you warm up, you do some shadow boxing, you can check yourself in the mirrors first, make sure you're not making bad habits before you start hitting the heavy bags hard. Now that we got our basics down, let's do some on the heavy bag. If you don't have a heavy bag, the shadow boxing will be a good start. If you do have a heavy bag, you can start to work your basic punches and just get the feel for hitting something. And I'm sure you're gonna have a lot more fun when you actually are hitting something instead of just punching into the air. Make sure you're wearing your hand wraps and your boxing gloves when you do your bag work. You don't wanna make that rookie mistake of hurting your wrist without your hand wraps on. We're going to start with our jab and go from there. Make sure you got a little bit of space from your bag. You don't want to get in here too close to start. Get to where you're a little bit outside of that jab range if you put that arm all the way out. And then from there, start working some jabs in at that bag. Just snapping that punch out, keeping the backhand up, and breathing out on your punch. Now I'm just kind of stopping the bag there just because we're working on the video. But if I was gonna do a lot of jabs without the video here, I would work it something like this. And if you notice, sometimes I'm throwing what's called the double jab, where I'm putting two jabs together. I'm breathing out on my punches, and I'm getting a good snap on the heavy bag. What you want to be careful about is throwing your jab out and pushing through the bag where you're getting a big swing like that out of the heavy bag. Really what you want is that snap, so that bag kind of bounces like that, and you're getting the hand back to your starting position. Your hands should be tight in your gloves, but your arms should be loose. Another way you can do it is have your hands loose in your gloves too, with your arms being loose as well. And as you start to throw your punch, tighten your punch as you get to the end of your punch. Now we're gonna put the cross in. So we're gonna add the cross by turning and rotating at my hips, getting a good snap in that punch. I have to make sure I'm rotating, I'm turning at my hips, and I'm getting that full power into that punch. This other hand is gonna stay at my face, just like when we did our shadow boxing. Now let's put the 1-2 together. Snapping the punches out, bringing them back to where they started from. We're not dropping them down. We're always maintaining a strong guard. And lastly, we're gonna do our 1-2-3 combination. So there it is. Work on the basics. Don't try to get too advanced. Make sure your hands are staying up. And then work on getting into a class so that you can continue to learn from here. Don't be afraid to work your heavy bag rounds lighter. I'm definitely throwing harder than you should be when you're first starting out. Don't hurt your wrists. Focus on good technique and good form. Now let's take a quick look at bag work with everything being put together and kind of mixing it up a little bit. All right, so threw in some body punches and some right hooks, things we didn't fully cover yet, but gives you an idea of kind of the tempo and how you want to work that heavy bag. How do you throw a jab to the body? What I'm going to do here is when I throw this jab out, I'm going to drop at my knees. I'm gonna kind of have this right hand in front of my face as I drop, and I'm gonna get down low enough so that if a punch comes back at my head, it may go over the top of my head. So I'm here, I'm dropping down, and I'm coming back up. If you notice, there's a slight hinge at my hips. My head goes around my back glove, and then I come back up. If I throw it to the bag, it'll look something like that. Throwing across to the body is similar because we're gonna also drop to the level that we're punching. And so when I throw the cross, I wanna drop at my knees while I turn. This way, my shoulders are near the level that I'm going to be punching at, and my head will be below any counter punches that are coming back at me. So it'll look like this. And on the bag, it'll look something like that. Now, when you first start working the heavy bag, it's perfectly fine to stand directly in front of it and just practice your basics. As you get a little more comfortable, you'll want to move around the bag a little more. And at an advanced stage, you're going to want to actually circle around the back of it. And so if I'm just here in front of it, it's not really 100% realistic, because if I was in a boxing ring, I would be moving much more when somebody was coming at me, throwing counter shots back. And I don't want to just be an easy target if they were to punch back at me. So if I throw my punches, like let's say I do a 1-2-1, I can just circle around and go to another position on the bag. If I go 1-2-3, I can circle around, go to another position on the bag. And just kind of get used to making little small steps as you move around the bag, keeping your hands up and focusing on your target while you get comfortable with having those feet moving underneath you at the same time. Another thing that you might want to practice on the bag is when you're moving forward, bringing your back foot up and getting a closer range for your hook. So as I come in, I want to step, bring my back foot up on that cross so I'll feel a little closer when I throw my hook out, instead of throwing my cross out here and feeling too far away on my hook. You can also throw the hook shorter so you can reach with your hook. Or instead of throwing a hook, you could throw another jab. So you could go 1-2-1 and get used to it that way first. Let's look at how to slip a punch. Our defenses are blocking, ducking, and slipping if we're keeping it basic, and so we have to know how to do a little bit of each. When I'm slipping a punch, I'm moving my head off of the center line. And so I want to get a little bit soft over my back leg, rotate my shoulders, and move my head to the side. Now, if I have my shoulder down slightly, just the fact of rotating your shoulders will move your head off of that center line. Just a little soft back knee and a turn. And that would be slipping outside of your opponent's jab. If I'm going to be slipping the cross, so you would be throwing your cross at me, I'm going to turn and move to my left. That's going to get me off of this center line because I'm going to rotate over my left knee, and I'm going to turn my back foot to help me do that. And now I would be ready to come back with a counter punch from there. So I'm gonna slip there cross, rotate, put my weight over my left knee, kind of like I threw a cross here. Back heels up, I'm nice and balanced, and now I'd be able to counter. So when you put your slips together, you're slipping the jab, slipping the cross. And that's pretty much it. You don't have to get too fancy, and you don't have to slip too far. You basically just want that punch to go past your ear. When it comes to basic blocking, we're going to keep it pretty simple. Your backhand is going to block the jab. Your front hand is going to block the cross. Assuming I'm right-handed and he's right-handed, or you're a southpaw fighting a southpaw. The jab block is just a turn and a catch. And so I'm turning, catching it with my backhand. I don't want to reach out for it because I can get faked and then hit around my arm. So it's a turn and a catch, and my other hand just comes back to my face. That would be a mistake. That would be a good block. Okay, now blocking the cross, I'm going to use my front hand. And all I need to do is stop it here, catch it here, catch it here, or parry it if I'm going to use an advanced move. But for now, all you got to really do is think about stopping that right hand from hitting you. Now we're going to get into a lot more blocking and a lot more defensive positions as we go along further in our boxing classes. But this will at least give you an idea of how to start to block the jab and the cross, those basic shots that might be coming at you. Remember that your defense is 50% of what you do when you're boxing. And so we've covered quite a bit in our Intro to Boxing course. Come on in and really learn more hands-on, get to hit the bags. We have double end bags, speed bags, all kinds of other bags that you can work on. You're gonna have a lot of fun and you're gonna get to put all of this stuff together. Make sure that you're not trying to do it all on your own, and don't just rely on this video. And definitely don't sit on your hands thinking you have to be perfect before you come in for a class. Basically, you should watch this class on the video and then come right in and do the class physically. You don't have to be perfect before you come in. In fact, most people have never thrown a punch before they come in for a class. So you can go to our website and you can sign up for the Intro to Boxing class. It's going to be an hour long and there's no commitment. After that class, we can talk more about what our options are and how we can get you into our monthly program and really get you boxing good. So I hope that this helps you a lot. It's not something I typically do, but I thought it could really be helpful for you guys to kind of just feel more confident before you come in. But just know that you don't have to be great to get started, okay? You just have to get started. That's the most important thing. We got a good group of people in here. There's not a lot of egos, and you're gonna hopefully have a good time. Boxing is a great sport. It's a great workout, and it's something you can do pretty much at any age. We start classes around age 8, sometimes 7, and we go all the way up pretty much as high as you can imagine. We even have people that still compete over the age of 50. So it's pretty cool that you can still do that. We try to keep things as safe as possible, and nobody has to spar. But if you want to spar, we do have our sparring classes, we have technical sparring classes, and we also have our fight team, which we take to different events. So I'm Coach Rob Papile. This is Rob's Fight Club, and we'll see you hopefully in one of our next classes.